Okay, today's title is two-step equations. I'm just going to abbreviate. Equations number 3. It's the third time. With this. Now there's 2 steps, and we'll write this much shorter than before. Just to review, our first step, remember it's a 2-step problem. Our first step is to either add or subtract the constant. Add or subtract the constant. The second step is to multiply or divide the coefficient. Coefficient, that's C-O-E, double F, I-C-I-E-N-T, coefficient. So first we're going to get rid of the constant by adding or subtracting, then the coefficient by multiplying or dividing. And just to help you remember, when adding and subtracting, think taste. T-A-S-T. Think taste, on your tongue. Positives and negatives. Now when multiplying and dividing, though, that's one if you have one negative, the answer is negative. And if there are 2 negatives, the answer is positive. Okay, so those are the rules for adding, subtracting, and then multiplying, dividing. So adding, subtracting, think of, think of taste on your tongue. Multiply, divide, think of these rules right here. 1 negative is negative, 2 negatives, they cancel each other. We'll do 8 problems. I'll do 4 on the left, and I'll come back up here, do number 5 and 5 through 8 on the right side. So remember, you have a left and right side. What you do to one side, you do the other. So remember, we're first going to add or subtract the constant. That's the constant, so we will subtract it. It's already a minus, so we'll add it. Add 9. Add 9. That gives us, on this side, just gives us 2x, because that's gone. That's 0. And then 29 negatives and 9 positives. Think of flavors on your tongue. There's much more negative flavor. How much more is there? 20. So I'll divide by 2 to get rid of this 2. Because see, this will be just 1. And you're left with just 1x. Over here, 2 goes into 20, 10 times, and there's 1 negative. 1 negative, so that means it's negative. And if I plug this in there, negative 10 times 2 is negative 20. Negative 20 and negative 9 is negative 29. It works. We are correct. So we have a left and right side. We want to get rid of the constant first, add or subtract, so we'll subtract this. And that's 0. And you are left with x over 2 on the left side. On the right side, 11 minus 7. Now I need to get rid of divide by 2, so I will multiply by that number, by 2, both sides. And see how this will reduce to 1x. 4 times 2. And that is it. And if you plug this in there, 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 plus 7 is 11. It works. Okay, number 3. Okay, you have left and right side. And we need to get rid of the constant. The constant is 16. So we subtract 16, both sides. Okay, and that will be 0. And this is the tricky part where some students make mistakes, many students do. And that is, I don't have just 4x left over, I have negative 4x. Minus 4x is the same as negative 4x, same result. So that's a little tricky. 4 and negative 16. So on your tongue, there would be more negatives, more cool. And how much more? 12. Okay, now we want to get rid of the negative 4, the coefficient. Negative 4 times x, so we do the opposite, we divide. Both sides. Okay, and these, we do that so that these will reduce to just 1. We have 1x. And on the right side, 4 goes into 12. And there are 2 negatives. Well, 2 negatives cancel when you're multiplying or dividing. And if you plug this 3 in there, 4 times 3 is 12. So it's 16 minus 12. 16 minus 12 is 4. It works. Okay, there's a left and right side. First, want to get rid of the constant. Do the same to both sides. If you notice, this reduces to just 0. Plus 2 and minus 2 is 0. And so that just leaves you with x over negative 6. And on the right side, 1 negative and 2 negatives. So on your tongue, 1 negative and 2 negatives would be 3 negatives on your tongue. Okay, now we want to get rid of the coefficient. So we'll multiply, but we have to do it to both sides. And you can see that this reduces to just 1. 6 divided by 6, negative 6 over negative 6 is 1. So we're left with just 1x equals 3 times 6. And there's two negatives. Well, two negatives cancel. When multiplying or dividing, two negatives cancel. Okay, now I'm going to slide up the paper to number 5. So let's get rid of the constant. So I will, instead of it's plus 17, I will subtract 17. Do the opposite. All right, and this is just 0 now. And, okay, now this part's a little tricky, because watch this. You see that negative? That negative could be on the top, in the middle, or on the bottom. It doesn't matter. But to make it easy for us, we will put it on the bottom. You see that? This is the same thing as that. It's the same result. Okay, on the right side, we have 3 negatives on the tongue, 3 negatives, and 17 negatives on the tongue. That's a lot of negatives. So it would be 20 negatives, negative 20. Okay, now we want to get rid of the negative 5, divide by negative 5, I'll multiply by negative 5. You see, that's why I put the negative down here instead, to make it easier for us. All right, and you can see that this will reduce to just 1x. And 20 times 5 is 100. And I have 2 negatives. Multiplying 2 negatives, they cancel. So this is all you're left. And again, remember, you have a left and a right side. What you do to one side, you must do to the other. Okay, number 6. Okay, we have a left and right side. To get rid of the constant is plus 8. So you subtract 8, both sides. This will be 0. And so you're left with, on the left side, x divided by 3. Now, you see that negative? I'm going to put it down the bottom to make it easier for me, us. Then we have 20 minus 8. Well, that would just be 20 minus 8 is 12. All right, to get rid of the negative 3, divide by negative 3, I'll do the opposite. I will multiply by negative 3. But I have to do it to the other side also. So this reduces to just 1x. Then we have 12 times negative 3. 12 times 3 is 36. There's 1 negative. So it's negative 36. Okay, number 7. So left and right side. Okay, the constant to get rid of is negative 23. So I want to add 23. And if I do that, this is 0, and you're just left with, just bring it down. Notice it's negative 8x, minus 8x. Okay, 23 minus 15. Right, because there's more positives. 23, take away 15. What is that? 8. Now, some of you could look at the answer and tell what it is, but if not, get rid of this negative 8. That's times, so I divide. And you can see that these will reduce, and you're just left with the letter X. On the right side, 8 goes into 8 one time, and there's one negative. Okay, number 8, the last problem. Okay, we have a left and right side. First, get rid of the constant. That's a positive 5, that's plus 5, so I will subtract 5. That will get rid of it. Right, because that's just 0. Now, again, we have that minus is the same thing as like negative, same result. So think of this to make it easier. Put that negative down at the bottom. 14 minus 5 is 9. Okay, now we need to get rid of this negative 4. That's divide, so I will multiply. Both sides. And this here will cancel, excuse me. And you're just left with the letter X. It reduces to 1. And we're left with 1x or 1 or just x. And then we have 9 times 4. That's 36. And there's one negative. So it's negative. And by the way, if I take this and put it in there, the double minus, make it positive. Minus minus makes it positive. 36 over 4 is 9. 9 and 5 makes 14. It works. Okay, so hopefully you're able to get this all on one page to make it easier. But if not, that's okay. Again, add or subtract the constant, multiply or divide the coefficient.